everyone. Welcome back to the Dr. Jimbo Love Show featuring Seth Matthews. Thank God Seth is back from Minneapolis. Was that where you were?
Yeah, I was in Minnesota. I was in like the Elk River area. It was a good time out there for a wedding. The wedding was in Minneapolis. Beautiful place.
I told everybody last week that you were there doing some wedding plans.
Oh, yeah.
But I think those are all solidified now, huh?
Yeah, they should be all set.
The big day is?
It's coming up here in July.
July 3rd, right?
Yep.
Right on. Very good. Well, it's good to have you back. Seth is going to do a deep dive into the hockey. We're going to start off with the hockey, and then we're also going to go and talk about the 4 series that still exist in the NBA, although one of them is done. Then we'll move into a little bit of interesting. We did a show back in January where we talked about the Saudi Golf League and Greg Norman and what they're trying to do, and they're really going head-to-head against the PGA, and they're trying to get the PGA Tour players to play, but unfortunately the PGA is fighting very hard, and we'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and Phil Mickelson got crucified for when he stood up against it. So.
Yeah. Well, Phil had said that he would consider playing in the league, and he got in trouble because the LBGT community and the PGA Tour didn't want anybody offering encouragement for people going and playing in that tournament because it's so lucrative.
Yeah.
So Phil put his foot in his mouth on a couple other different things, kind of trashing the PGA a little bit, which the PGA is like the gods, and you can't really talk about them, and you can see them trying to wield their fist of power and can continue with the monopoly of the world's greatest golfers.
Yeah.
You can't blame them.
No.
The other thing we'll talk a little bit about, Brittany Griner update. She's still in Russia. That's just a continuing saga, and I feel horrible for her. Brady's going to be joining Fox. That's got some insight on that a little bit. National Women's Sports Day was back in February. We'll talk about some of the WNBA, and we'll revisit maybe Sue Bird and Becky Hammond and see how their teams are doing.
Yeah.
But let's get into the NHL, and what do we got right here? How sweet it is. Our Avalanche swept and are sitting there resting their legs.
Back-to-back years. We sweep in the first round.
You got to love it. You got to love it. But we've got an incredible situation here where we have 5 Game 7s that are coming up in the next 2 days. We have 4 today, 2 tomorrow. So if you're a hockey fan, you cannot miss coming down to Brothers here, Brothers Bar and Grill at the Shops of Northfield. What do we got going on for any kind of specials or anything for the
right now we have our normal specials, but we got Labatt Blue on tap.
Ooh, Labatt Blue. Gotta love it.
Jim loves his Labatt Blue. And we have all the games. We're going to have them on sound. The first game kicks off today at 2:30. It'll be Boston and Carolina.
Yep.
A great series. Honestly, this might be one of the best playoffs I've seen in a while. Really back and forth, a lot of goal scores. Not too many low-scoring games except for the Calgary-Dallas series, which is just unheard of. Usually things tighten up in the playoffs, and people are just opening up.
Absolutely. So we've got the Panthers and the Caps. Florida won that 4-2. That series is over. The Wild versus the Blues, and of course the Blues are who Avalanche are going to face next. They won their series 4-2, and of course we've already spoken about the Avs sweeping their team, which
Nashville.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But let's start off right now with Carolina versus Boston. It's both 3-3. Game 6, Boston pulled off 5-2. Game 7 is today at 2:30. What do you got?
Yeah, going back to Carolina. Carolina's a young team. They got Sam Aho out there. He's not the youngest player, but this team is fast, and they're really good. Wayne Gretzky spoke about them and literally picked them to come out of the East to meet the St. Louis Blues in the Stanley Cup. Those were his 2 picks. And you know what? This series has gone really weird. There aren't really any close games. Either one team shows up, scores 6, it's 6-3. Each game has been decided by 2 goals or more every single series. But yeah, Boston is a veteran team. They're sticking in there. They're the lower seed. But you know what? It's really hard to knock out Boston because they play a physical, fast game. Right. And I think Carolina has a little bit of edge here just because they're a little bit younger, they're a little bit quicker. And when you're going home for Game 7, there's nothing like it.
Yep.
And I see them pushing it out today.
And a bunch of my old friends from graduate school at the University of South Carolina are Carolina fans. They'll be down there watching and cheering on the Hurricanes in Game 7. This is kind of an interesting, the Tampa Bay Lightning, the two-time champion, back-to-back champions, had, basically they were up against the wall and pulled out a Game 6 win in overtime over the Maple Leafs. Game 7 is today at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. What do you got about this series? What do you think is going to happen with Tampa Bay?
Well, let's just talk about that overtime win. Toronto, hush-hush on it. They haven't said anything. Tampa Bay said, oh, yeah, they were the right calls. It was garbage. Toronto got so many penalties over nothing. And in overtime, Austin Matthews, the best player on that ice, was held. He was tripped. No calls. And so players get fined if they talk about the refs, so I'm going to do it for them. Tampa Bay shouldn't have been there. Toronto's done everything they can. Toronto's kind of cursed here. They've made the playoffs year in and year out. Even last year they were a high seed. They have not made it out of the first round since 2004. Playing a veteran Tampa Bay team that, they've been there, done that. They're back-to-back. Before their 2 Stanley Cup wins, they were the President Trophy winner, knocked out in the first round. And since then, they've put it all on. Now their goalie in Tampa Bay is going for 8 in a row on closeout games. He has never lost. He hasn't even given up a goal when it comes to a closeout game in his last 7 series. So as much as I want to see Toronto make it through here, I do think it's Tampa Bay coming through.
Yeah, and we know that for the Avs, we want to see Tampa Bay and the Florida Panthers not make it to the win the conference, because that makes it easier for us to win. The other one we were talking about today, it starts at 8 p.m. is the Oilers versus Kings. Again, it's tied at 3-3. Game 6 was won by the Oilers 4-2. What do you think for this one? How do you think? Do you think LA has a chance to beat Edmonton?
So I'm just surprised this is Game 7. I didn't think LA even was going to stay in this series. LA was fortunate enough to make the playoffs. It came down to the last couple games for them to make it. They happened to hop Dallas, so they didn't hop Dallas. Yeah, they did. They hopped Dallas. And Oilers have arguably 2 of the best players in this Stanley Cup series. You have Connor McDavid, who is one of the greatest players right now, and then you have Leon Draisaitl, just high-scoring teams. But this Kings team is coming out of nowhere. Now, veteran goalie Jonathan Quick has won Stanley Cups. He can take over a series. This one, I have a big question mark. I think LA maybe, just because Jonathan Quick is such a good goalie, he might be able to will them to a win.
Right on. And again, for the other series we have going on, that these are Game 7s tomorrow. The Rangers versus the Penguins. Again, it's 3-3. I got a chance to watch part of this game yesterday. It was incredible. Pittsburgh jumped out to 2-0 in the first period, and then the Rangers came back. And I saw one of the most incredible plays by a goalie that I've seen in a long time, where you saw is his name Sesterkin?
Yeah, Igor,
yes.
Sesterkin.
He made a pass. Did you see that pass at all?
I haven't been able to see that one yet.
So what happened was Pittsburgh was in a change, and Sesterkin skates out to the boards and shoots a shot down, which basically led the New York Rangers player into the goal. He missed the goal, and then the other one followed up with it. But it was just an incredible play to see a goalie initiate a goal. In my opinion, it was really something else.
Yeah, and just talk about a swing of momentum here. Rangers were down 3-1. They made it 3-3 now. The big thing is timing of injuries. Sidney Crosby, I don't know if you're done after this year, but it's got to be coming close. Early in his career, he had a lot of head injuries. He's injured again. He missed a whole year due to not being able to pass concussion protocol. So I wish the best for him. But as soon as Sidney Crosby's been out, the Rangers have really bounced back. And I'm really surprised in this series just because the New York Rangers arguably, I don't believe they've come out with the award yet, but Igor Sesterkin is the goalie of the year, in my opinion. And he is one of the best, and he's given up 4 or 5 goals a game here, which is kind of uncharacteristic of him. But you know what? Anything can happen in this series. Hopefully Sidney Crosby can come back. I don't believe he will be, and that gives the edge to the Rangers. But I think the Rangers might take this series if Crosby can't play.
Interesting. Yeah, I saw a very interesting goal, too, where a shot came into the pit goalie, and it hit his glove, and it slowly just flipped up over his head and ended up into the goal. And that was the goal to put him up 3-2, and which ended up being the margin of victory minus the empty net at the very end.
It's all about the bounces when it comes to playoff hockey. You can
crazy.
play the best game ever, and you know what? If it's a 0-0 game, someone throws it in, one little minor mistake, especially on the goalie's part, it can swing the whole thing, and you just lose the game.
Yep. And our other series tomorrow are the Flames versus the Stars, again tied at 3-3. Game 7 is tomorrow at 7:30. Game 6, the Stars pulled out 4-2. Do you think the Stars have a chance?
Not really. I would love to see Dallas make it through, and I would love to see LA to make it through. The 2 lower seeds would be waiting for us after St. Louis, and that would be, I think, our destiny to go to the Stanley Cup if we can get past the Blues. But the big thing with Calgary is their goalie he gives up under 1 goal a game when he's at home. He's a little bit more, he gives up more goals on the road. They're finishing in Calgary. Dallas has put up a good fight. I did not expect this. I was hoping we would play Dallas, and I thought we would sweep them. But, you know, this Calgary team's really good, and I love the Calgary coach a month ago said, who don't you want to play in the NHL playoffs? And he said, Colorado Avalanche. It sounds like a waste of 8 days.
Yes, I saw that.
That clip is going viral again. But, yeah, I'm giving the edge to Calgary. They're just quicker. They're a little bit better. But Dallas is putting up a fight here. Anything could happen.
Excellent. And then we talked a little bit about the Oilers and the Kings already. So what were your impressions about our sweep? What stands out to you about the Colorado Avalanche right now? And we're a little worried about them kind of backing their way into the playoffs with a couple losses late in the year.
Yeah, we just had some injuries going on. Landeskog was out, Kadri was out. Those are 2 big goal scorers. They're back and healthy. We actually have a lot of depth right now. They're talking about calling up some players mid-playoffs right now. I've heard Ben Meyer's name brought up a little bit from the University of Minnesota.
Yeah.
I'm surprised not to see. I haven't seen Logan O'Connor on the ice that much. He came in, I believe, Game 3, but he didn't play the first 2. I don't know if it's injury related or what. But he's been a big part of us over the last 2 years. But overall, I think we're just showing our depth and how good we are. I am a little nervous about the next series. St. Louis.
That's what I was going to say. Give us a little preview of what we need to have done in order to beat the Blues.
So I'm getting a little flashback of last year. We 4-0'd. We went to the next series. Vegas played in a long series. They rested their team, lost game 1, but they played a very physical game, and it knocked us off ours, and they ended up taking over the series and taking us out. Now, St. Louis plays very similar to Vegas of last year. They're quick, and they take the body before they go for the puck. So they are always looking for the body hits to slow you down. If you get in a long series with them, your body's going to start wearing down. So the Avs need to look to match the physicality, but still play their game. Cale Makar is playing outstanding. I saw him in the Nashville series. We were shorthanded. He took it down himself, did a spin move, and almost scored for us shorthanded. So, and the big question for us, too, is how healthy is Kemper? Kemper went out, dude. A stick got into his mask. We still won the last game without him, but they say he's healthy. He's ready to go. Hopefully there's no nerves in there from being hit in the eye. I know that can affect some players coming back from an injury. So as long as he's on his game, I think we take the Blues. Talking to Colton downstairs, he said he thinks we take the Blues in 6. I'm going to go with we take them out in 5.
Wow.
And so I think we're going to cruise through it. And that's another reason why I'm hoping to see Dallas or the Kings in the Western Conference Finals, because I think that could be another sweep, well-rested going into the Cup.
Exactly. And then out of the East, again, the 2 teams you had said that you don't want to see us play is the Lightning or the Florida Predators, correct?
Florida Panthers.
Panthers, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so Florida Panthers are a weird team right now. So Ovechkin's come out and said, the series loss is on him, Backstrom, and Oshie. And you know what? It really is. They fell off. But I think the big thing Washington showed is they didn't know how to finish a game. Florida has been notorious at the end of this season and in these playoffs, being down 2 to 3 goals and being able to flip a switch, score 5 goals, and win the game. And they did that countless times in this Capital Series.
Interesting.
It would be a great series to see Tampa and Florida play. They wouldn't play till the Eastern Conference Finals.
Right.
Because the winner of Toronto and Tampa Bay, I believe, goes to – where do they play? They
Florida
might
and
play.
Tampa Bay.
I'll have to look, but
we'll check with our
because
producer.
Carolina, I believe, is like the 2 seed, so Carolina is going to play one of them. Carolina just looks scary right now. They're actually a team that I think might be able to meet us in the Stanley Cup Final. I think Gretzky might have been right. We'll see if they can take care of Boston, though, because Game 7s, anything happens, it's one game, 60 minutes. whatever happens, happens. But
it'd be nice to see Boston pull it out just to make it a little bit an easier opponent for us.
Yeah.
So, excellent. Well, let's shift gears and we'll move into the NBA playoffs. And we have one of the series that are already closed out, and that is the Golden State Warriors closed the Grizzlies without Ja Morant. 4-2 on Thursday night. The Splash Brothers, Thompson had 30, Curry had 29. Poole ended up with 12, but they have two other guys, Wiggins and Green, who both contributed very greatly. And a lot of times they don't get mentioned. Wiggins with 18 points and Green with 14 points.
Yeah, he turned it around. I really was I was making jokes when the Golden State got blown out in Game 5. I was laughing. I said, you know what they did wrong? They let Wiggins shoot. I have a little don't like him that much just because he came from Minnesota. But either way, coming down to it, they look unstoppable right now. It'll be interesting to see what happens in these other series. They're waiting for either Dallas or Phoenix right now. I think they're looking to hope to play Dallas.
Yeah,
Luka's really carried that team. Yep. But, Golden State playing their best basketball. Draymond Green's getting in people's head. He keeps chirping. He's making the news over and over again. And
this series was kind of over once Ja Morant went out with his injury.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's just nothing that they could counter with to go against the firepower that the Warriors have.
Yeah, to put it in perspective for Nuggets fans, that's like us losing Jamal Murray for the year. Jamal Murray was in this series when we were playing. It would have been a more competitive series because we saw it when he went against Utah, and he was putting up 30, 40 points a game, and he could take over. Well, Memphis didn't have that guy, and unfortunately Golden State had 2 or 3 of those guys on their team.
I've got the Warriors winning the Western Conference and also winning the NBA championship on FanDuel. So we'll wait and see if that pays off at all.
I have them bet to win it on DraftKings as well.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh, good. See, great minds think alike, Seth. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Heat series. The Heat win the series. They closed out the 76ers 4-2 with Joel Embiid. He just didn't kick in as much as we thought. Of course, they got the first victory when he came back with his mask.
Yeah, he won 2 games in a row. The crazy thing about the Sixers, Sixers fans need to lay off on the Sixers. At the end of the day, you guys were a dead last team for a long time. You guys have really built something. You're in contention every year. Have you got over the hump for a championship? Not yet. But, another year with Harden playing with Embiid, if he gets to stay, I think they're going to do well. Doc Rivers' job is in jeopardy, and I don't understand why. He even said, I came here and there was nothing, and look, we're in contention every year.
Yep.
So
and they were dogging a little bit of, what's his face from Russell from when he was playing at Houston. He played so much better, they said, when he was a Rocket.
For Harden?
Harden, yeah. And I just, I think you'll see if he has a full year with that team, it'll be a big difference.
Yeah, and I think the highlight that took over the final game was the Miami Heat, Jimmy Butler. We're not friends, but also a guy that played in Minnesota. But when he hit a 3 and it kind of closed out the game, he yelled really loud. He said, "You took Tobias Harris over me." And he doesn't forget. He was drafted. Sixers had an opportunity to get him a long time ago, and he never forgot the guy they took, and he happened to got to shoot right over him. And that was kind of the stamping point on this series of Jimmy Butler taking it over.
Wow. Well, now we've got the other series we'll talk about here is the Boston and Bucks series, and I had a chance to watch a little bit of the game last night, which just was unbelievable. Game 6 in Milwaukee. The Celtics pulled it out 108-95, and it's a tale of 2 different players. You've got Tatum, who was just unconscious. I've seen a guy shoot threes and just fadeaway jumpers from the corner, and he was dead-eye. He didn't miss for a stretch in the third quarter to the fourth quarter that just kept the distance between the Bucks. Now, not to take anything away from Giannis, who had 44 points, and Holiday was 17. Brown contributed with 22, and Smart with 21 for Boston. Clutch shots by Tatum and relentlessness by Giannis. Did you see any of the highlights of that game?
I got to see a little bit of it, and Jason Tatum probably learned everything in college from
Coach K.
Yeah, from Coach K. But the big thing with this is like it's hard to say who's going to win this one. Now, I think Boston has proven since they got rid of Kyrie, because everyone said once they broke up that group that they wouldn't be as good as they were, and they've gotten better. So head office is doing great in Boston. They're putting the right pieces in place. I like Boston in this just because I feel like they're more fun to watch. But, you know, when you have a returning champion, especially Giannis on your team, he could will his way to win. But I'm giving the edge to the Celtics in Game 7.
Oh, big time. Well, they're playing at home. Now, interestingly, in the regular season, up to the last game of the season, they both had identical records.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was Milwaukee took the last game off and kind of tanked the game and lost, while Boston played it out and won. And now you're seeing that regular season does have consequences, and all games have consequences, because I would much rather, if I was a Milwaukee Bucks fan, be playing in Milwaukee for Game 7 than having to go all the way to Boston and play in the Garden.
Mm-hmm.
So that was an interesting little caveat. So we'll have to see what happens. And if Boston wins it out, then maybe next year we'll see a lot of other teams, when it comes down to home field or home court advantage, playing the entire season out and not taking games off.
Yeah, NBA is a weird one where it's probably the only sports I know where people take time off and they take. You look at the Avs. We had the Western Conference locked up, and we played our starters all the way to the end. There is something about playing to the end. Yes, you risk injury, but if you take too much time off and you got to get in that playoff mentality, sometimes you come out a little sluggish.
Nope, and that's what we have to watch it with the Avs too, with all this time off. Will they come out against the Blues as strongly as they would have if they had gone 5 or 6 games?
Well, and I think the coach is more prepared this year. I blame a lot of last year on the coach. I think he's a great coach. He didn't adjust as well. He got outcoached. Vegas outcoached us last year. And I think he learned from it. And I think we're going to come in firing, and we are going to take over this series right away.
Absolutely. Well, cool. Let's shift. We'll shift to.
We forgot one more.
Oh, do we have another one?
We got
here?
Phoenix and Dallas.
Oh my goodness gracious! Go ahead and take that one real quick. You've got Luka, who basically broke out and scored 33 points. Bullock had 19 points. Booker for Phoenix came in with 19 points. Game 6, the Mavs ended up pulling out 113-86, and we've got a Game 7 Sunday at 6 p.m. That will be a game that I'm watching Sunday evening.
My favorite thing about this series is it's kind of created a rivalry between Devin Booker and Luka Doncic, and it's just a great matchup. Rivalries between players make things better. There's no doubt Phoenix is a better team. I'll tell everyone that right now. I'm sorry if you're a Dallas fan, but they're just more talented. But Luka is the X factor that could squeak out this series. I think with DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, it's just too much because Luka's kind of doing this on his own. Ever since, if Porzingis was ever healthy, I think him and Luka could have been a great team. They got Dinwiddie, that's done great for them. But I think it's a lot for Luka to take on, and I'm going with Phoenix for the last game.
Yeah, and they're playing in Phoenix for Game 7, so we'll see how much the home court advantage helps again for Game 7. All right, not to withstand, we did a show talking a little bit about the Saudi Golf League and Greg Norman versus the PGA. And there was an article in the Denver Post on Wednesday, and basically the PGA is fighting tooth and nail to keep players from switching over, even though they give a 3 exemption per year if you have a PGA card that you can play anywhere in the world. Mm-hmm. Now understand that does not include North America. So the RBC Canadian Open, which is going to be the tournament that conflicts with the opening tournament of the Saudi League. So let's see what it says here. It says the PGA Tour is denying releases to golfers who asked to play in the first of a series of Saudi-funded tournaments. Next month, that starts in England. The first, it's called the LIV Golf Invitational. Just to give you an example here, the PGA has already started to compromise a little bit. Okay, Monahan, who's in charge of the PGA, granted releases to about 24 players for the Saudi International on February 6th through the 3rd through the 6th, the same week as Pebble Beach. But what he said is, if you're going to go play in that Saudi tournament, you have to commit to us 2 of the next 3 years. And I think that's what you're going to start seeing. You're going to see that they have to allow some of these players to go and play in the Saudi League, because just give you an example, okay? The purse for a 48-man competitive 40, it's only going to be 54 rounds or 54 holes, not the traditional 72, is $20 million purse.
Yeah.
$4 million goes to the winner, and the last place player gets $120,000. Seth had talked about this before. Remember, the PGA Tour has 125 golfers that qualify for their PGA card. Well, what about the guys that are from 100 to 125? just think, by just entering in a Saudi tournament, they're going to receive $120,000. That's a lot of operating expense.
Yeah, and I think the big concern for the PGA is the Saudi League pays more. So if you start granting releases, and let's say you have your what's his name, Scheffler? Is that his name?
Yeah, Scheffler.
If Scheffler goes over there
Sure.
and he wins and he gets $4 million, and he has a choice to play in a PGA tournament that is only going to win him $1 million, why is he not going to go to the Saudi League? And you're going to start losing a lot of players due to the purse on this. So either they have to raise what they pay, which I think is already a lot, but you're going to have to raise what you pay if you want to keep these players. Because eventually they'll let their stuff expire. They'll go to the Saudi League once they see these 100 to 125 golfers make just as much money as them. And they're like, wait, I could be making more?
Well, the bad thing is say someone like Scheffler, number one player in the world, goes over and plays and wins $4 million. What will happen in his next 2 weeks? Will he continue with his PGA commitments, or will he take those 2 weeks off, like you see sometimes happens when these golf guys win a big tournament?
Yeah.
You know, they'll take off a couple scheduled weeks. I think that's what the PGA is worried about. 5 tournaments are scheduled for the United States. This is a direct challenge to the PGA because the PGA does not give any exceptions for any tournament other than PGA sanctioned events in North America. So you've already got 5. The first one is scheduled. If you ever want to go see some of these tournaments, we've got one July 1st through 3rd near Portland, Oregon. Others are in suburban Chicago, Boston, and then there's 2 courses owned by former President Donald Trump in New Jersey and Miami. If you want to see this tournament and any of its manifestation, you'll have to travel there for the meantime. Now, they have other tournaments scheduled over in Europe, and a total of 8 already set aside, $20 million purses. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is nuts.
So we'll see. Will Greg Norman get his revenge and return with this $350 million investment that his organization has already put forward? Remember, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia is funding the rest of the money, and talk about deep pockets, right?
Well, and it comes down to too, will this be a league that fails? You just don't know. We've tried so many different football leagues to try to capitalize. We've gone with the Arena League. We've done those weird 7-on-7 leagues, and a lot of those flop. So I mean, it's a contender right now for the PGA. If the PGA withholds their superstars, maybe this league doesn't survive.
Right. Well, we're going to see it maybe as a companion league, but with the money that's being put out there, you're going to have to start drawing over some of the players. Now, let's just real quick here, some of the players that they have already talked to, and let's see if I can give you a list here of some of them. We've got Phil Mickelson, who's already considering. Again, this list is not official. Lee Westwood out of London. You've got Martin Kamer. He's another one of the players. It's a top 100 player. Sergio Garcia and Ian Poulter are among people that are rumored at this point who want releases to play in this. And we don't know how many of them they want to play or how many releases they'll be given, or if we'll see some kind of compromise from Monahan that we've saw before already.
See, what I would like to see, it not affect the PGA where they're missing their events. But give them some players to the Saudi League. And you know what? Do a combined tournament. Do the PGA versus this league as a Challenger Cup type of deal. Because, we love to see those rivalries. We love to see the different leagues play each other and see if they're... I always told people that I would love to see different matchups, like when they do state champions in high school. Big school play the little school, and let's just see how it plays out.
Yep, exactly, just to see what happens. And yeah, I think that, with this being the first year, you're probably not going to see, they don't want to really recognize this league yet, kind of like the AFL and the NFL. It took the AFL and NFL forever before any teams ever played against each other. And a matter of fact, it wasn't until the first Super Bowl in 1967 when you saw the Packers play against the Chiefs that there was a matchup, and then the 2 leagues took 3 more years before they combined and ended up having the AFC and the NFC conferences like we have today.
Yeah.
So, and then, so we'll have to wait and see what happens, although there is an alternative for these golfers out there if they want to make some big money on a world stage. Let's talk a little bit about Brittany Griner.
Yep.
You heard about what, everybody's heard that she got a chance to go in front of a Russian judge. Unfortunately, it didn't go in her favor. She's been given another 30 days in a slammer.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sad thing right now. the United States is doing everything they can. There's other countries getting involved. A couple NATO countries trying to help her get out.
Our State Department's trying to help her.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's not her fault to the extent of like you should be in jail like this, but be aware when you leave this country of what other laws are and what could happen.
Exactly.
It is very unfortunate. I don't think she deserves any of this, but like Russia's really tough on that stuff, and even though we're not here, like you just got to be aware of everything.
Absolutely. And then she got caught up, because her immediate arrest was about a week before the Russian-Ukraine conflict, and so I mean, timing couldn't be worse for her. But we'll be letting you guys know as things develop, and we're keeping an eye on Brittany Griner. Brady.
Yep, Tom
Getting
Brady.
ready to make more money. Not like the rich keep getting richer, but then again, he's got a lot of talent. I think he'll be an excellent analyst. Signed a $375 million deal with Fox.
Yeah, whenever he decides to retire, he gets $375 million. Now, I want to know what this was compared to his career. From Tom Brady's whole career with endorsements, he's only made $475 million. And I say only. But compared, I thought it was going to be a little bit more. But compared now, he's only going to make $100 million less in these 10 years with Fox, and he's set. And obviously his wife helps with the payments too, because she's the model, Giselle. And so it's like, it'd be awesome to be part
Tom
of this.
Brady's kids.
Yeah, they're going to do well
or Tom
forever.
Brady's friend.
But yeah, no, I think Tom Brady's going to be a great analyst. You look at Tony Romo, he was. I know a lot of people like him, but he was an okay quarterback, in my opinion.
Yeah,
okay
just
at
okay.
best.
He couldn't win a playoff game to save his life.
But you look at what he could contributed. He was calling plays from the announcer box that before they happened, and then they would hike the ball and it would happen. Tom Brady is another level on this vision. I think he's going to be able to call so many things before they happen. It's going to be fun to watch. I think he is going to draw a lot of viewership to Fox and their football because he's just going to be able to call it differently. He's going to give us a different lens that we haven't been able to ever see through because we're not pro NFL quarterbacks.
I totally agree. And not only that, he's really well spoken. He's very articulate. I mean, the guy is a natural athlete of all sports. I mean, he's a great golfer.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny if you saw the match when he played, I believe, what was the other guy, Aaron Rodgers or something? Yeah. But either way, when he was in the match, it was just fun. He was lighthearted. He had great jokes. That was actually one of my favorite golf matches to watch because I only had to watch 4 players. Mickelson was making jokes too. Tiger Woods was in there, and it was just a lot of fun.
Yep. Well, we're going to see a lot more of Tom Brady over the next 10 years or whenever he retires. National Women's Day in Sports. We missed it. It was February 1st, so congratulations to all women athletes out there. We're just about 2 or 3 months removed from that. Let's talk a little bit about the WNBA. It just got started, so normally we don't really talk much about a league. But out of the gates, you've got LA, which is 2-0. Las Vegas is 2-1, and we're going to talk a little bit about Becky Hammon's tenure there. Seattle's 2-1. Sue Bird, this is her last season, as we mentioned last week. But let's talk a little bit about the Aces in Las Vegas. It's amazing. What you're seeing is a system that Becky Hammon has put in where it's kind of the way she played when she was coming through, where it's more of a run and gun type of play. They're pushing the ball up the court. They're not relying on three-pointers. And they're off to a really good start, beating Phoenix and Seattle 2-1. So we want to wish Becky Hammon, again, a CSU graduate, lots of luck. And remember, we talked about how much money she was being paid.
Yeah.
Is it going to pay off for Las Vegas? Well, I'll tell you what, if you ask anybody right now, it's paying off already.
Well, I think a lot of it, I mean, she just had great mentorship. If you look at it, she got to learn under, she got to be a player. Then you had Greg Popovich. And I think Greg Popovich is a great coach. He did great with Tim Duncan. Even when he didn't have a team, he was still making playoffs. I believe they lost the play-in games this year. It's 2 years in a row he didn't make it. His career may be coming to an end soon. But one of the best coaches, I put him up there like with the all-time greats. I mean,
big time. Pat Riley's and all of those guys. I mean, he'll be in the Hall of Fame as soon as he retires, first ballot.
And I think Becky Hammon took a lot from that. She took a lot from her playing career, and she has a lot to contribute that a lot of these other coaches don't have the experiences she does. And I think she's really going to take over this league.
Good. Now, on a sad note, Minnesota Lynx have started out 0-3, a team close to Seth's heart. Coach Sylvia Fowles, this is her last season, and unfortunately for her, she's lost 4 of her key players. Collier is pregnant, so she's out for at least another month.
Year.
Yeah, well, she's in her 9th month of pregnancy,
Okay.
so she may end up coming back for the playoffs. You've got McBride, who's overseas with overseas commitments, and again, here's what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of these players that have had lucrative deals overseas, and you can see it takes precedence over the WNBA season.
Yeah.
You know, once the girls and the ladies get paid a little bit more money with the WNBA, I think you won't see this conflict as much. And then Dada's is foot injury; she's out. So we'll be watching, and we'll be giving you periodic updates. In the Eastern Conference, you got Washington, who's out to 3-0 start. Atlanta's 1-0. And then you've got Connecticut at 0-1. But again, way too early for us to really speculate. And we'll just be following through and looking at key players and seeing how their team's doing. Then, of course, we'll cover them throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, to bring it back to the Avs. The Avs were sitting at 4 or 5 at the beginning of the year. They weren't looking too hot. I mean, we had a talented team, and it was a long season, so we turned it on, and we ended up blowing everyone out of the water in the Western Conference.
Right. In NFL news, we had an incident here locally with Jerry Jeudy being arrested. Do you want to go into any of the details? What are your feelings on this whole thing?
Yeah, so Jerry Jeudy got in an argument with his girlfriend or wife. I'm not exactly sure what she is.
Baby mama.
Yeah, and so she was trying to leave to a different state. She needed something, and he locked it in the car. Apparently, she had a cell phone of his or something around those grounds. Still gathering more details, but she's advocating for there not to be charges pressed. She wasn't physically hurt. It was just kind of an argument that went a little too far.
It was a verbal argument that she called 911, and unfortunately, because he's an NBA or an NFL player, you see what happens.
Yeah, and I hope the NFL doesn't step in on this. I don't think it's necessary, especially with her statement of that she doesn't want anything to hurt his career, anything like that. So hopefully they take that into factor.
Yeah, they said that at most he would get a 1-game suspension.
Yeah.
So we'll be watching that as well. What else have you got going on?
Well, speaking of suspensions, we have Deshaun Watson that we're still unsure of if he's going to get suspended. The Cleveland Browns came out and said if Deshaun can't play, it will not be Baker starting. It will be Jacoby Brissett, followed by Josh Dobbs, and then Baker Mayfield. At this point, I just don't know what they're doing. Are you trying to punish the guy when he started getting you wins? It seems pretty petty to me. Find a suitor, get him to Houston, get him to, I don't care if it's a bad team, but don't punish the guy after he's won games for you and really helped you turn your franchise around.
And played hurt all last year. To his credit, poor Baker, his stats kind of dropped off last year, but the guy was playing with a shoulder injury where he really shouldn't have been on the field. So, well, great. Again, we want to welcome you to come down to Brothers Bar and Grill here at the Shops of Northfield. We'll be here all day long. You've got 3 big hockey games, right?
3 big ones. And if you find yourself in the area, make your way over to Dick's Sporting Good Complex. We have the Rapids play today at 1:30 against LAFC, one of the top teams in the MLS. It should be a good match. Hopefully we can get some stuff going on here, and we'll be able to take the W or at least tie a team that is this good. But yeah.
Maybe up here. So we just lost our feed here real quick. Is it down here?
Yep. And then we are back.
There we are.
Everybody.
Hey, we're back.
But yeah, so make your way down. We got great hockey. Avs probably won't play till Monday. They don't work the way the NBA does, where a series ends, they start the next series. Because I remember the Boston-Milwaukee one started before other series was over. So we're waiting until Monday probably, maybe Tuesday, for the Avs to take on the St. Louis Blues. But in the meantime, we'll watch how these other ones finish out and see who's left for us to play.
5 Game 7s, folks.
That's got to be one of the records. I'd never see this many.
5 Game 7s in a first-round playoff. You are getting your fill of hockey, and you've got 2 Game 7s in the NBA. So that's 7 opportunities to see games that basically come down to there's no tomorrow for the losers.
And the weather's beautiful out here, so come grab a beer, sit on the patio, come sit at the bar, watch your games, cheer on for your favorite team, and let's just have a great time this weekend.
Absolutely. We want to thank you members from the LinkedIn crowd that have been watching us. Also, too, you can tune in to YouTube, Facebook, Getter, and Rumble to find our broadcast. Please share it with other people if you'd like. And also give us any kind of comment you'd like. We can handle it. Tell us we suck if you want to. We don't care. We would love to hear back from you. All right, so next week, 11 o'clock, we'll be here at the mezzanine section in Brothers. Come on down early so you can get in line. Looks like everybody's getting let in just nicely, and everybody's being so good and so quiet. All right, folks, well, let's get out there. Anything else you want to take us out on?
No, just make it on your way down to Brothers and come have some great food and some beers, and let's watch some sports.
Absolutely, and we'll see you next week at 11 o'clock. Remember, get out there and earn it this week.
See you, everybody.